Hi, everyone, and a very good morning to you. I'm Sanjay Behel, co founder and CEO, StarLeaf Talent Solutions. After a long career over 30 years in the finance function and working in companies like Hindustan Unilever and CFO roles in Saint Gobain, the Landmark Group, and the Raymond Group, I decided to follow my passion and start my own venture. This is a venture started by ex CFOs with an ambition to transform the hiring process for senior finance talent. We are specialists in CFO and finance leadership placements. We also aim to leverage our experience to provide career guidance and shape finance careers.
Hi, I'm Soundari Mukherjee, founder and CEO of Soundbites 11. I'm an organizational consultant and a business storytelling coach, a faculty mentor, and in my previous avatar, I used to work with Unilever and ANZ. My big, hairy, audacious goal today is to help leaders and teams drive business outcomes, build a personal brand, and be more human at work through storytelling.
Together, we are delighted to bring to you an exciting initiative, StarEves Season 1, a video series to capture the learnings of women super CFOs in India and showcase inspiring leaders who have reached the pinnacle of success in their professional careers. The percentage of women who take up finance education as a career ranges around 42%. However, with women holding only 5% of finance leadership positions in the country, the leadership pipeline shrinks significantly for women. Considering this ratio, we want to call attention to the stories of women finance leaders who have overcome the personal and professional challenges to achieve success in their careers.
Thus, Star Eves was born. In season one, we bring to you conversations with five such outstanding women CFO leaders, each of whom have scaled the summit of success in their professional careers and have gone on to lead and inspire large finance teams across the country and overseas. We will be sharing these stories with you, and we trust that young emerging finance talent who has aspired to be where these leaders stand currently can draw inspiration from their journeys. So join us on Star Eve Season 1 as we explore their personal and professional journey.
We are delighted to bring to you the second episode of Season 1 of StarEves program. Our guest today is Sonal Shrivastava, Group CFO of Vedanta. Let's get her in the frame. Hi, Sonal.
Thank you, Sanjay, Sandri.
Hi, Sonal.
Hi, Sanjay. Hi, Sandri. Thanks and delighted to be here.
Let me briefly introduce Sonal and her professional journey. Sonal Shrivastava is currently CFO of Vedanta Limited. Sonal has over 26 years of financial leadership across diverse sectors. In her role, she spearheads the group's financial strategy and takes responsibility for accounting, taxation, treasury, investor relations, while driving automation, digitalization, and profitability. She was previously regional CFO for Wholesale Group, where she worked as CFO for Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa operations. Sonal was associated with the Wholesale Group for over a decade, in which she received an opportunity to work with the group's various entities such as Lafarge Group in Paris, France, and India. Lafarge India Private Limited, Ambuja Cements Limited, and ACC Limited at different intervals. Sonal is a chemical engineer from BIT Sindri and MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj. Sonal started her career as an engineer in a chemical company, changed tracks to a financial services company after her MBA in finance. A large part of her career has been in a leadership role in the cement sector, and for a long time, she was the only woman finance leader in the sector. She is also a member of the CII National Committee on Financial Reporting and the board member of various group companies. Sonal is an avid trekker and has taken on challenging treks in Ladakh and other places. She is married to Vinay Raizada, who, after a long career as an IT professional with domain expertise in Oracle, is now an entrepreneur. Her son Ahan is a lawyer and has recently started his own career journey.
What a wonderful journey that we are talking about, and we are so now in the present. But I do want to start the conversation from the past. So let's start from your early years, your family, your schooling, your college. So tell us more about how your early school life was and all that, Sonal.
No, thank you. So I'll just start on my family background first. So my father was in Merchant Navy. He was an engineer in Shipping Corporation of India, and my mother was a homemaker. And basically, because of his job, he was traveling a lot. Um, I have one sister who is also a doctor. And, the childhood, the early childhood was really, in those 70s, 80s, if you see, there was no way to connect with each other, especially when my dad was traveling. We used to get these letters once in a while, once in a year. So what really became important is, whenever we were together, the quality time that we spent together, and what all we did together as a family, that was very important. And my parents have always felt, that my kids, the two sisters, my daughters need to be very independent and self-reliant. And because of this, and of course, because of this job was also a traveling job, we went to a boarding school. I went to a boarding school right from a very early age, which is grade one, 6 years old. This was a school in Dehradun, Welham Girls High School, and which also gave my mom an opportunity to sort of travel with my dad. But I think somewhere, they had this element in them that my daughters need to be independent, and how can we support them in, being so.
Uh, so, Sonal, going to a boarding school at age 6 would be a very unique and challenging experience for you. And one is really impressed with the progressive thinking of your parents in bringing up their daughters to be independent from such an early age.
Just to describe a little bit background, we are from a small town in Bihar. My both my parents also grew up there, but there was always a focus on education. And from a very early on, even my parents, they got to travel the world and see various opportunities, which sort of, I guess, shaped everyone's views, including theirs, in a very progressive way. So, one thing which was like completely missing in my life, from very early stage, early childhood, was that, the differentiation between a boy and girl. There was no gender issue at home. Everything, right from the beginning, there was nothing that was put into our psyche that, girls have to be treated differently, they have to do things differently. And I can say that, my parents really trusted both of us, me and my sister. And that one trust is something that now I take for granted. And it also spills over in my work life, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Boarding school vis-a-vis staying at home, we can literally make the pros and cons for both these experiences. I want to know how this experience shaped you as a person today, your outlook, your approach towards life. What has that boarding school experience contributed to it?
See, I went to boarding school at a very early stage, I was just 6 years old, So initially, of course, I was quite scared, as a little girl there. But eventually, I settled down and, made friends. And over a period of time, I wanted to, sort of fit in as well, It was a school where, a lot of rich kids came, and I was from a middle class school. So the way I went about it is to really try everything, try to excel in varied activities. I was good in studies, but really not a class topper. But I sort of engaged in athletics, in sports. I was in the school hockey team, dramatics, camping. So I think, just wanting to experiment all around and trying out new different things is what I really, what interested me and I took part in. And right from the beginning, that take that risk kind of a person is, what really came out, and I really enjoyed that. On the studies front, I think I've said before, I was not the class topper, but somewhere in the middle. But I was trying to balance my activities, the studies and activities, the co-curricular activities, and I wanted to just enjoy my time in different things. What was important for me was getting out of my comfort zone, and this came early. I was happy trying different activities which appeal to me, and try to be good at that. I really didn't go into one activity and said, okay, I want to be excellent here, the game changer. But I went around, doing various things.
So, Sonal, what I hear you say is that you don't need to be brilliant to succeed and excel, especially given where you are today. And that is so refreshingly different from the stereotypical image, right? That we have to have brilliant students and parents are constantly pushing their children to be toppers. What do you say about that?
See, I can speak for myself. I was a good student, but I was not amongst the toppers for sure. What I believe is, somebody as ordinary as me, if I can make it, anybody can. My life has been all about the ordinary, how the ordinary can also do extraordinary work. And that's the difference. How do you get inspired on small stuff, the small things that's in front of you, and as an average person, what you can bring to that small things in front of you, and how you can make a difference. I think that is very important. So pick out the small things in life, and you don't know what can inspire you. I remember once, this is a long time back, we watched this movie Gandhi, and I was no writer. But something really touched me about that movie, and we had to turn out an essay on that, and I ended up getting the highest marks. Just something flowed out there. So I think we have to find our small space and work really hard at it. uh, Somewhere in your corporate life, in adult life, aptitude is given. It's the attitude which really will make the difference, and will ensure the altitude that you will go to.
So thanks, Sonal. The great insights from your experiences. And I'm specifically enamored by your comment that one has to look for that spark and inspiration, and we will find it in small things, in the ordinary work that we come across and do in our lives. Now, let me take you back to your college days. You started with a engineering degree and then ventured into a career in finance after doing your MBA. Now, what was instrumental in your career choice and this change that happened from engineering to finance? It'll be interesting to hear, your story there.
Sure. So, engineering was most like a default. In those days, the choices was between engineering and medical. And, it was very simple. You were good at maths, you would become an engineer. If you're good at bio, you become a doctor. So that's really how simple it was. But as far as MBA was concerned, I think the main driving factor for me was my dad. He was very clear that after engineering, I must do MBA, and just that there would be more career options. So that's how it really spanned out. But when I came into MBA, that's really when things changed. There was an option of marketing and finance. And I took to finance at that point of time, and I realized I really loved this subject. So the transition was more default than design. And I continued to do my MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj in Bombay. And MBA also was very different from engineering, just the way the subject is taught. The case studies that you do, the interface with the industry that you do. We did a lot of that in my college. And so you're not just restricted to textbooks, you are doing live projects with the industry. And that really shaped me also as a person. I think all of us, we became more extroverts, more outgoing. And, as an engineer, you tend to be a little bit introvert. And as we moved along, again, there also during my MBA course, we were all the time, and especially I was looking, how do I again make a difference in this case studies that came along, our way. And I remember one, a class that we had in finance and operations research, where, the subject was on quality. Everyone, is used to listening to Kaizen, continuous improvement. But we went and found this Taguchi philosophy, quality philosophy, where the primary goal is to keep the variance output very low, even in the presence of noise. So how do you go about in that framework is what we presented, which was again very well appreciated. But so the whole idea, was, I think that's where MBA came in. How do you sort of come back and keep making a difference, look for the new small things that can really have an impact.
Very interesting, Sonal. Uh, After your MBA, you started your first job with ILNFS, a financial services company. It'll be interesting to hear your experience there and how you made a transition to a sector which was completely alien to you. And I think it'll be good to hear, that your the challenges that you faced and how you settled in there.
Yes. So ILNFS at that point of time was an infrastructure financing space, basically leasing as well as infrastructure. On the skill set front, we were coming fresh from college, so you quickly realize that you have to learn on the job very fast. College does prepare you, but not completely for a work environment. There weren't too many HR trainings around, so you really had to perform on the job all the time. And I was fortunate to have multiple assignments, but also very, very fortunate to have good bosses and very supportive team, a very energized team, and at the same time, very demanding. So the atmosphere was very demanding with very high caliber people coming from A grade institutes, and we had to compete with each other. So we were on our toes all the time, and the idea was learn, learn, learn.
So, so true. And it's reminiscent of my time in banking, long time back though. Financial services at that time, the M&A, the capital market space, investment banking, were not that gender diverse, if I remember correctly. What did you do so that not only did you survive, but thrive in that competitive and demanding work environment?
I remember there was a professor in ILNFS who had come in to set up this M&A cell and the valuation cell, etc. I remember him telling me that your output must be twice as good as the guy sitting next to you to be judged as an equal. And this is kind of really something which went into my head, and it really stayed with me. Though ILFS did have some working women, I won't say they were missing. But this was something which then made me absolutely driven to perform. What was important was to produce a piece that was perfect. Of course, it didn't happen all the time, but to achieve that, and in a competitive environment, we were looking at various things on how to get things done. I think that get things done was very important. In fact, there was a very demanding boss I had at that point of time who was also a perfectionist, and with him, we had that, your output better match his expectation.
Great, Sonal. I think the message that you are giving is that one really has to put in a lot of effort to try and differentiate, try and get to that perfection, even if you don't get there every time. But the effort has to be to try and keep doing something which you are satisfied yourself that you have done your best. So great to hear that. Now, talking of mentoring, and you mentioned that your demanding bosses as well turned mentors for you. Now, mentoring and coaching. Now, are two important tools for a young professional. How much did this help you in your initial years, and really helped you really shine in your future roles that you did?
I would say that mentoring was a very important factor in my success journey. And there have been various people along the way, from my college seniors to bosses who have really helped me understand this and have guided me, not only on some critical hard stuff, but softer aspects of how organization function and how do you navigate through that. I mentioned about the professor who had come in Island Affairs. He was, of course, being a professor, a natural mentor. I also had my college senior, Saleh Afimiwala, who was also a great support in my initial years in INFS. And the boss that I've just mentioned was Giri, who is also now a very senior CFO in the industry. Um, then, as I moved along, I would say, really, what did the mentors really were guiding you for? They were demanding, so the work aspect got taken care of, but even the softer aspects, and we were focusing on how to innovate and do new things, not just bring the mundane stuff back to the table. So my key takeaways would be that it's always useful to take on challenging roles that you can offer yourself to, not only necessarily assigned to you by your mentors. Get out of that comfort zone, and take on new stuff. Seeking out mentors is also important. The mentors just don't come to you. You have to seek them out, go out, get people's guidance, but also perform. And of course, set very high standards for your self. Um, I would also like to name two gentlemen, later on in my career in Lafarge, who have played a very, very big role as mentors in my career. One was my boss, Alok Agarwal, and the other one was Mr. Martin Kriegner, who was the CEO of India at that point of time in Lafarge, and has played a very significant role for the last 20 years in my professional journey.
Great mentor, supportive team player, and a demanding boss. That's how Sonal describes Giridhar Sanjeevi. Let's hear what Giri has to say about Sonal and her career.
Hi, I've known Sonal for more than 25 years now. I first got to know her when she was working with us in ILFS as part of the advisory team in the late 90s. ILFS then was a very small but very agile institution at the forefront in terms of corporate advisory, M&A, etc. And we were a small team, and it was great fun working with Sonal as we kind of worked through different assignments and delivered some complex assignments to clients. So it's been fun to watch Sonal kind of graduate and kind of achieve all that she has achieved. And I think what stands out about Sonal is a quiet dedication and tenacity in terms of what she does, and so that's always been very admirable. Uh, and she and I are also colleagues on the CFO board. It is India's leading CFO body, and she has played a key role, in fact, chairing one of our annual conferences in Delhi. And with such enthusiasm, she kind of coordinates with senior finance professionals and contributing to the function actually. So it's been lovely to sort of know Sonal over the years and kind of work with her. Thank you.
Now, you talked about demanding bosses, tight schedules, working in NBFC kind of a setup where, obviously the timelines are crunched, if anything. And then that's also the time when, as typically a lot of women seem to find it hard to negotiate the two M's, marriage and motherhood hit. How did you cope with it? And I'm sure there are lessons in this for everybody who's listening, especially the younger finance talent who's coming in?
Yes, indeed. Um, I remember within 6 months of me joining ILNFS, I was going to be a mother. So I had to take time off very early in my career. At that point of time, I was quite worried, what's going to happen, how will people take it. But fortunately, I was working with my boss, again, Giri and Professor, who were very, very supportive. I remember I took 6 months leave. And in fact, when I came back, I just worked for 6 months in a given year. But I still got my promotion. And of course, it was called refitment, not promotion. But really, what happened was that I got very little time to perform. So, within that 6 months, I had to pack a lot. I was fortunate to get good assignments in those 6 months. And, it was very important for me to prove that, yeah, and of course, differentiate myself. And of course, I did have that fear that I should not be discounted. And at times I went just to prove a point, um, you know um, to do some silly things also in that period, which I will not advise anybody to do it. In hindsight, I remember I was 6 months into my pregnancy, and I went off onto a road trip to visit a client because I was asked to do so. And of course, I think we should not be in a hurry. Now, when I look back, I see that we should not do silly things and be in a hurry. We will get our time to prove ourselves, but in that short period, whatever we get, I think we can make our mark. And I think that's how we will, as women, prove that we can manage both sides.
Interesting, Sonal. And from ILNFS, you moved to Lafarge, and for quite a long period of time, you were the only lady in cement in those days. And when I say that, I mean at a finance leadership, in a finance leadership role. Now, cement is where you made your career and spent a considerable amount of time. And also, the posting in Paris that you had, which also, was a career challenging move, both at a personal and professional level. So, talk to us about it in terms of how you faced the challenge of moving overseas with a child and managing both personal and the professional side of your life.
Sure. Just on that part of being the first woman in those, there were, of course, there's another lady who was the HR head, but yes, the functions that I was straddling. I think to look at both side as how you approach your work, and then how if some bigger assignment is given to you, what help you can ask for. These are the two things I can talk about. I think just the approach to work was, to understand the business in, very detail. How do you go about understanding the business, creating, some models for connecting the physical world, the operational world to the financial world, and how to look at that thread in a strategic manner. These are some of the things that I tried to do initially. I spoke about the two gentlemen, Alok and Martin Kriegner, who have been a long time my mentors. And because of the work that I did, I was, like you said, given an opportunity to move overseas in, again, a very challenging assignment, which required me to travel the world. And of course, there was a problem. I had a 6-year-old son, and traveling job. What do you do in that early part of the career? So, and it was an MNC. MNCs don't really have policies, which are tailor-made to accommodate your full family. But I decided to, why not ask? And I was there, right there, saying, I need my parents as well, and they need to be there to support my son in my career. So this was new for them because nobody has such policies, and they don't sponsor your parents. But I had that support from the organization. So sometimes it's good to ask, just ask, and maybe who knows, people will just support you. But at the same time, they'll support you because you are doing some good work. So that is paramount. But at the same time, when you want to climb, ask for the support even from the organization, and people do give it.
Great. I think that's a great lesson, and I just want to highlight it in case we miss it. Um, you need to ask for solutions. You don't get what you don't ask for, and a lot of us sometimes shy from asking for those solutions, especially to issues that we may face in personal life, need an organizational support, and this is really playing itself out. It played itself out during COVID, and now with the hybrid and work from anywhere and all that. So great point. Thanks, Sonal. Um, I think one of the other M's, which is the mobility piece as well, and I see that you've navigated that really well. But we do see so many CVs of women who get impacted at this phase with the marriage and motherhood and mobility issues coming in the way. And what seems like a promising start then gets into breaks, loses momentum, and then there is not enough organizational support to help women get back into work. We do have a lot of returnship programs now, but in a way, a lot of the women then compromise on their careers, and you navigated this really well. So, if you can just also highlight what specifically worked well for you, what approach, what solution would you suggest for the others?
No, I think the you know certainly three things. If I can just sort of club it in three things, but paramount is really the family support, and the extended family support. Your parents, your in-laws, husband, very key. And if you don't go for that family support, we lose a lot of we women will lose a lot of infrastructure. My husband had a traveling job at that point of time, so he was also traveling all over the world. I was given a traveling job, so it was difficult to sort of manage, that time period. But I think what really went well for me was that I had super support from my husband. He was absolutely clear that no career compromises. He supported me throughout, and we decided how things will work at home. And he's been a very big anchor in my career and in my job as it progressed. My parents and my in-laws took turns to really look after my kid, Ahan. And this, so the home front was really taken care of. And handling this is very important to fix. When you're looking at mobility, you want to be peaceful in the office, and pursue your career. I already spoke about the company support. The company also, if you ask for it, that support will come. The third one is also, to handle the mobility. If you want some, let's say, support from all around, at the end of the day, you also have to see, how well you are doing, and how important it is to you and your family. What you bring to the table is also really, really important. So I think with this kind of support, if we look at in totality, I think women we should be much better at handling our mobility and not give up. Look, go out and look at those solutions and tools that can come about from your own circles or your wider circle or even your company. But we should go looking for that.
Let's hear now what Sonal's husband Vinay Raizada has to say about Sonal.
So she is a believer in positive thoughts, and even at the toughest time, she has always looked for meaningful roles. Or anything else. So that has kept kind of helped her streamline, her career path. I'll say. If I have to say three things which has helped her, top three things which has helped her, in her success, I think the top one would be energy levels. By far, like if she goes after a job, she'll just go after it with a sledgehammer. And of course, her ability as a woman to multitask, which has helped her quite a bit because she can really do that. She can drive three, four things at the same time, including, of course, paying attention to the house. She's number two, I'll say, is that she's not afraid to speak her mind. If she's got the facts and all those things, backing her, she can speak her mind without getting very offensive about it. She can just speak her mind. So that makes her stand out, because she says and does things which are best for the organization. And of course, support and taking care of the family and all of that, which is of course the most important, and the thing which can help stabilize the entire family as well as the career growth. So I think, yeah, these two.
I think what comes out very clearly, Sonal, from your experiences, a couple of very important factors, which you mentioned: support from parents, in-laws, support from, of course, the organization, which you have to ask for, and then, of course, your partner. Amazing support that you got. And I think what really strikes me is the attitude and the thought process, which basically is, why should anybody compromise their careers? I think finding solutions is really the key to a lady finding her potential in her career. Now, coming to another aspect, there are a lot of conversations around equality, gender equality, and sharing of workload and responsibilities, and sometimes these are key to a women professional finding her potential in her career. Now, mindsets really did you develop to navigate? Well, it will be also interesting to your own thoughts on this.
Yeah, sure. Um, I think that we as women, as far as the responsibility at home, is concerned, we should not feel guilty about it. Whether it's getting things done at home or bringing up your child. What is important is that you work with your partner, your husband, and your larger family, and find solutions. Have tools, resources, and solutions which are around you to support your career. And I've really had that. If I just give some example, and your kids, your family will come around to it. They adjust to that way of life, and that becomes the norm for them. And also have a sharing mechanism with your husband and your larger family group at home. But at the end of the day, you will have to lead it. It's there is a little bit of a CEO playing happening at home as well, or the leader at home as well. And as far as the child is concerned, it's for my son, it was just normal. My mom goes to work. There was no that I'm missing out on something. That was his normal life. And he was pretty okay with it. And we had so many moments together that we made the most of it. But let not that guilt prevail. So the mindset really to navigate this is be without guilt, find the resource and tools that will support you, ask for it, and lead it. Lead it. You don't have to say, oh, I am managing at home and office both. No, it's not like that. I think together with your family, it has to be solution oriented all the time.
Beautifully said. Just shifting gears a little bit, going back to a life as a CFO in a cement business. I think from for you, from a work perspective, that was a shift, but it was also very new for the organization to have a female CFO. So how did that pan out? What were some things that happened at that time which you want to talk about?
Yes, and yes, I think I was the the only woman CFO at that point of time. So when I took on this, the CFO role in Lafarge, and I stayed there some good 6-7 years. My role was expanding. First I was heading only a division, the ready mix division, and then I took on the cement division, the whole country, and slowly many product lines. I think the approach was always to focus on the value add and what you bring on the table in a construct and build constructive relationships from there. I remember, we had acquired this ready mix business from L&T, and when I joined, we had my peer group was like veterans in the business, having been in the business for 15 years, and you have this attitude of this is how things are done, we know the best. So obviously, initially, there was some friction, different ways of working. So I think the first approach was, how do you build trust? How do you build trust with your peer group? um, I recall one incident, when I went to meet to the regional head of East India. And, I was meeting him for the first time. He knew a CFO was coming, and I walked in wearing jeans. And, obviously I did that because I had to visit the plant as well, and he was like, okay, what's this going on? Who's this kid coming? Where he was coming from was, he had a certain set image of a CFO, serious person, and he was one. But I think what is important is to be prepared, and I had gone prepared. Um, I had studied all the data from the plants in his region, and I had gone there with full set of information, and the conversation quickly moved to the performance of the plant, in the nitty gritties on sales, cost, receivable, whether we are making money or not. And really, that then he realized that there's a conversation, it's a serious conversation, first of all. And since I had come prepared, it was a peer-to-peer respect developed, I think, over a period of time. So for me, again, I come back and say value add is important, preparation is important, and in leadership positions you have to establish this early on, very early on. So hard work not to be missed.
Very interesting points, Sonal. Now, what is very important for a successful CFO is also to have strong teams. And I think one of the aspects and deliverables of a CFO is to build those, teams which then are the enablers of success. Uh, Tell us how you worked on that aspect and what is your approach towards developing teams.
So I can say the first thing that I focused on was really strong people and relevant talent. I had very strong people in my team, and I have recruited even more stronger specialists, and of course, sometimes people better than me in the knowledge of that subject. I really feel that's important for a leader. Second, for a leader, I think it's important to also drive team chemistry, and not just have islands of individual expertise or individual brilliance, but how you work together as a team. And it's important for the peer groups of a CFO to really work together. So, as of one of the first things that I did, initially, I remember is work with the HR to have that team building exercise in an offsite to really see how we could break silos, and what are the elements that can be used to work across verticals. The treasury head should talk to the tax head, and then they should be interfacing with the audit head, and how all of them together can find solutions for the organization, and not just wait for a CFO's direction or a CFO's arbitration to get things done. So team chemistry is a second very important point, and we can, one can drive it in different ways. For me, what worked really well was, not just to have these one-off offsites, but how do you bring it to your daily work routine, and sort of really embed it in your daily life. So I used to have these Friday briefs with my team. It was also informal. You could have chai, samosa, etc. But also we used to come with topics that we would discuss threadbare together, find solutions, even criticize each other, look at things was not working. Uh, but also it helped, take decisions faster because everybody was in the same room. We were able to thrash it out quickly and very efficiently, in my view. And we did this kind of weekly. So um, it worked really well. And what was also important is, this I really wanted my reportees to percolate this down the organization, because if you want to drive that culture of collaboration, open transparency discussions, etc., it needs to go down. So that was a second thing that I worked on, a team, that is. um, Lastly, what I would say is, as a leader, one has to be very authentic, sincere, and not say something and do something else. That's very important. People are not foolish, and they can see through it very quickly. So maintaining that personal integrity is also very important.
Supriya, who was Sonal's team member for a number of years, has a message for her. Let's hear what she has to say.
She's full of positivity. But I've been lucky enough to be mentored by Sonal early on in my career. So whenever I came across such situations which I felt were difficult to handle or complex enough, the intent of helping you to develop yourself to that next level. So whenever you came out of the discussion, that fear of failure to perform a task was not there. Sonal, I felt honored of being led forward by a person who's not only industry renowned, but by someone who is a wonderful person and an amazing leader. I want to thank you for all these years of advice and guidance that you have bestowed upon me and molding me into someone of valuable skills and talents. And hope someday I get an opportunity to work with you again. All the best and all the success for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Again, great gems. We will make sure that we highlight some of these points in the takeouts that we do. And thanks for generously sharing that template. We'll again flash it on screen for the audience to see. Well, I mean, again, cement, male dominated sector. How did you go about managing your peers for them to, see this women CFO coming in? How was that like?
um, Yeah, I mean, I can say that this has also evolved. Initially, I struggled. It's not easy, I must say. But later on in my journey, as Lafarge got divested, I became part of a larger organization of Ambuja and ACC, which had very senior people, 20, 30 years of experience, veterans in their own field. I realized that I have to also adopt my style. And, though priority is the same, which is you have to get the results. But this time, get your peer group on your side, and just don't run to the boss to, find solutions, look for arbitrations, to solve your problems. But, together with the peer group, go to the boss, this is how we have done things, So this was a different approach that it came about over a period of time, I would say. So really moving from a more directive to a collaborative approach. I think it's important, to have that your own learning, to be able to recognize this. And I remember a little bit early on, we also had this HR, the feedback sessions, these programs, in a 360-degree feedback that I had, where it was like, the team is very happy, the boss is very happy, but the peer group is really upset. So, I was fortunate get this reflection and learn from it. And adopting this in a later part of my life has been very, very helpful, because as a professional, one has to grow, and it's okay to have professional differences. You can disagree, but you should have that chemistry to also then just go out and solve things and have coffee together. So it evolves. It really evolves.
Very interesting insights, Sonal. Uh, from this, what emerges is that you have a certain style of working, an operating style, whether it is dealing with teams, with peers, with bosses. You've managed a spectrum of different individuals and mindsets. So what would be interesting to sort of try and get some takeouts from you would be, if I can phrase it, what's the Sonal way of working, which is your operating style?
I'll maybe attempt something, Sanjay. Um, I have tried to be a business-oriented CFO all through. So my style has been that roll up your sleeve and get on the ground. So I myself have visited, not only the manufacturing sites, but also the customers and, the sales units. And I have also gotten my team to do the same. It's very important that my team members are also interfacing with the sales teams and the manufacturing teams and are on the ground understanding their difficulties, the issues that they are facing, and how do we then incorporate it in our own processes, systems, whether it is DOA approvals or checks and balances, and, the control mechanisms that we have, and look for solutions all the time. And for example, if the we're not getting the collections through, and the sales team would come and tell me, oh, the customers are not able to do this or that, I made sure that my finance team, the sales controllers, were there together with the sales guys, facing the customers, talking to them, talking to their finance departments, trying to find solutions even in small things like whether the invoice has been booked, certification done, all because we what we want is the money in. The money has, we make a sale, we need the money, and it's important for the cash flows. So as a CFO, I'm driving the cash flows, but I need to understand the reality on the ground. My team needs to be on the ground. So this getting into the nitty gritties has been very important, and I think that's what I like driving as one of my styles. And here, and also it's important to understand both sides, the finance side and the business side, to help where the organization wants to go. So really, if you really want to, if I were to summarize, so to say, master the subject, nitty gritty, roll up your sleeves and get to the ground. Build relationships, not only to your internal stakeholders but also your external guys. Trust is very important. And in all of this, it's very important as a finance function what you bring to the table for the business and the organization, and you have to be adding value all the time. For my team, I like to build, I have built not only powerful finance teams, but also very autonomous finance team who are capable of, advising the boss and not just following instructions. So that's really what has, I would say, worked for me in my journey.
Again, a beautiful operational guidebook for people to follow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Now, coming from one topic where you gave us the playbook on the operating style, the another aspect of corporate life, functional life, is especially for the finance function, is managing conflicts. There are always different perspectives, points of view, and a lot of the times the CFO has to, or the finance head has to, play the devil's advocate, give a conflicting view, and have a different perspective. Now, what I would be keen to know is your playbook on this. What's the Sonal way of managing conflicts, if I can put it like that?
I wouldn't say there's a zonal way, Sanjay, but I will certainly say that, I have also learned my lessons and evolved on how to manage conflicts. And you're right. In finance function, you are always trying to show a mirror to the functions, and whether it is sales or manufacturing or purchasing, and we have played that role. And I have faced several conflicts throughout this journey. But what is important is to understand, whether we can have a middle ground, because at the end of the day, whether it is sales, manufacturing, or finance, we're all working for the same organization, and all our objective is the same, which is maximize profit, cash flows, and so on. So, the approaches can differ, but, somehow we have to get around to that. I can, give one example which comes to my mind very, with sales functions. Typically, people will want to sell more, and the finance is trying to say, no, 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 let's manage the credit risk, so on and so forth. So I remember, at one point of time in one of the organizations, the credit function was sitting under the sales. For a very long time, it had been like that. And when I came in, I thought this was a conflict of interest. If you want to sell more, you're managing the credit as well. We could have, and we did have some repercussions for the organization. So there was a very senior sales head, and I was trying to, make a change in the organization. I wanted to make, credit more structured, and of course, report into finance and so on. And so I had set up a framework, but the company had a very big debt problem, cash problem. But when the conversation started, it's very hard to give up your positions. So he felt that I was encroaching on his subject, and I felt that he cannot handle so many things. It just doesn't work like that. But we tried to see each other's point of view. We continued to sort of discuss and debate over a period of time. And at one session, I remember after 2 hours also, we had no agreement, which way to go. I just thought, the middle ground. How do we get to the middle ground? So I said, okay, fine. Let's experiment with this organization for, let's say, 2 months. Doesn't work, we will roll it back. So that he couldn't refuse. Nobody can refuse an experiment. So he said, okay, so let's go ahead, and experiment. And we rolled it out in a particular region. And guess what? It worked. It was a great success. Then he realized that, this greater transparency was not going against him, but actually helping him get more organized. And, his own P&L was becoming, and his own cash flow was becoming tighter. And then he came back and said, okay, now let's roll it out all India, So, here again, the lesson is, we will have a lot of conflicts. But how do you understand, or at least try to understand the pain point of the person, opposite you? Start with some small steps which may work, some middle ground, and not just bulldoze and, sort of go that route, And then you will have, I think, as a finance department, a very, very good constructive challenge kind of relationship with the peer organization. So.
I think that's a great point also in change management about starting with those small wins, something that can bring the middle ground. Great example as well. And Sanjay and I were smiling, thinking about our own corporate experiences and similar such situations, which might have reminded stalemate. I don't know.
Even personal lives, I think, even personal lives, I think the same formula can be applied.
Totally. We should try it. Shifting gears a little bit, Sonal, we had asked our first guest, Sandhya, about any unpleasant situations at work. We do now, obviously, in organizations have strong posh committees working within the organization. I recently read that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India actually came back with a handbook for combating gender stereotypes and getting that inclusive language in court orders and how things are referred. So while some of the processes are there and they are coming up, sometimes they're not very effective. So I want to ask about your experience, any situations that either you've been in or you've had to deal with for the people in your teams, any issues, and how as a leader have you stepped in and played that role for them? Any situations that you can tell us about?
No, absolutely. A very important point, Sandhya, you're making, Sandri. I think, I recall 2 incidents actually here. And, some of these cases, what is important and sometimes what we miss out, is the woman really bold enough to come out and speak about it, And what do you do if she's not willing to speak up? So this is one example. Second is, what if there is something happened, a little derogatory way, or a bad way between two male colleagues about a woman, but the woman is not there. How do you deal with such cases, which are not a very traditional kind of a posh case? So I remember the first case was actually in my team, where one of my very junior woman colleague, was just not willing to speak up. I got to know myself through some of my team members, and we were wondering really how to go about it. The other person who was accused was also in my team. We were very fortunate to come across some evidences, based on which I took a call. I said, no, this behavior cannot be tolerated at all. And she was still not willing to come out. So we took, based on the evidence that we had, a very serious call and an immediate termination, because clearly there has to be zero tolerance shown from the leadership at all times on these subjects. The second incident that I spoke about was on between two males. So there was the woman that they were discussing was not even in the room, but clearly that's not the kind of engagement or work culture we want to encourage. And here there were two very senior people. And again, here I managed to escalate it, not a typical posh case, but we escalated it. We did have some people who were able to give some evidences that this happened, this was said, etc. And it went to the highest levels, and proper, I would say, remedy was put to that person that this is not tolerable, and actions was taken regarding even compensation structures. So you could have situations which are not typical posh, but then you have to see how you're going to deal with it, within the organization.
No, thanks so much for sharing. I know it can get really personal, this conversation, but it's always useful, like you said, to talk about it, to get it out in the open, and learn from each other, learn from the experiences on ways to deal with it. So really appreciate you sharing that. So this is something I want to ask you from your experience. You found certain solutions which have worked for you. What are some things that both men and women need to address to bring this balance of responsibility at home into the conversation as well?
Actually, a great question, Sundari. Um, this whole Women's Day, I think, one thing which I always emphasized in my earlier organization, that this can't be just a celebration with the women, a women group doing some sessions, etc. The men in the organization have to be very much a part of this entire celebration, and have to understand why they are being part of this celebration, and participating in this, and also realizing that how powerful they are actually to make a difference to their daughters or wives or mothers. I think that conversation, to say they are so powerful to make that difference, and if they have that realization, and we can have this conversation going not only at home, but also in the office, I think that brings itself to a different level of awareness. That's where it has to start. The awareness levels have to go up. But really, we have to engage the men in all these equity things. It's not just about a corner celebration here.
And we are lucky to have Sanjay here leading
Yeah,
this conversation. He initiated this whole thing. So, we are on the right track.
completely endorse this here, 100%. So now let's move to a more fun segment. I think we've dealt with a lot of important, serious topics, taken a lot of nuggets out in insights, and dealing with personal lives and the work life. Let's move to an interesting segment, which is now the rapid fire round. And I always find this, as a great way to know you better. So Soundari has lined up quite a few interesting questions for you. Soundari, over to you. Fire away.
It said creativity is intelligence having fun. So let's have some fun with this, Sonal, okay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll try my best.
Yeah. Vidya Balan or Deepika Padukone?
Vidya Balan.
Ranveer
I,
Singh or Amitabh Bachchan?
Amitabh Bachchan. It's just that, one has grown up watching Amitabh Bachchan, and, he really changed the definition of entertainment. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, we're with you. Virat Kohli or Kapil Dev?
Again, I'll go for Kapil Dev. Very traditional in my viewpoint. Yeah, I mean, I think I was fortunate to, have watched the first World Cup. That's was the pioneering event, right? First World Cup live. So, yeah,
Oh,
Kapil Dev.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we have the third one coming up. So we are hoping for teen. Okay. Watching cricket or a Grand Slam tennis final?
Neither, actually, but if I have to choose, maybe Grand Slam.
Yeah. Bungee jumping, adventure holiday, or beach and sunshine?
Mountains? Can I give that option? Mountains, adventure, trekking in the mountains, really.
Yeah. 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 Movie in the theater or Netflix at home?
Movie in a theater, definitely.
Cooking with the family or using Zomato?
Cooking with the family.
Tea or coffee?
My husband is a tea entrepreneur, so I can't say coffee. I have to say tea.
That's why the question here.
Yoga or gym session?
Both, yeah, both, I would say. I mean, yeah, both.
Okay, coming on to another section. Now, two things that you would never leave home without.
My energy and my comb.
Wow, that's good. Any regret? One regret?
No, it's a continuing regret, I would say. Sometimes I make decisions based on emotions, which then I regret at leisure, and then takes a substantial effort to undo it.
Okay. Let me take you back on time. If you could, if you had the option, would you choose a different career?
No, I think this career is a pretty good ROI, if I may say so.
Okay, nice one. And spoken like a finance person as well. So, okay, coming to the last one, what you call is the eureka or a hip hip hooray moment in your life.
Yeah, this was very recently, I think, on my Chadar trek, which was a very difficult trek. And I really wanted to test my limits, minus 25-degree temperature, walking on the Froza Zanskar River and reaching that summit, really after the grueling walk was something really, really like, wow, I made it. I can do it. Imagine I can do it. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Great. I think you did extremely well in the rapid fire round. So I think we will send you a tea hamper, not a coffee hamper.
Absolutely.
In-house source, beautiful tea hamper.
Yeah.
You've also seen at least two generations of team members. You think the generation now who are working, are they able to navigate their careers better without compromising on their potential? Do you see any shift in that?
I do actually. I do. So even in a sector like cement or mining industry that I'm currently in, I see that support mechanism which is there for the women. And how the organization is also geared up to support them. I think it's changing. Still a lot of work to be done, but I think it's in the right trend, and we'll see more and more women leaders in the future. I'm sure of it.
I mean, was the starting point for the conversation that the gender leadership ratio in finance is skewed and is in low single digits, as we know. Do you see this changing in the next 10 years? Is that the trend in terms of the incoming workforce that you're seeing in the organizations?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I see the younger generation, which is also hungry and wants to do things differently. The organizations are more geared up to support this. There's a framework to support this, and the performance criteria are, of course, same for everybody. So I think things are falling in place, and I'm sure this ratio, what you mentioned, Sondri, will change definitely for the future.
That's really positive to hear. Something to look forward to, right?
Yeah, certainly. So, Sonal, one last question for you before we move to the next segment. Uh, you've had a dream run and a great career. You're one of those. You're going trekking now, and you're, summiting, as we can say, as well. And you've done that in your professional life as well. Where do we see you 5 years from now? What do you think? Where do you see yourself?
I thought about a lot of answers, Sanjay, some standard nice ones to give, But let's face the reality, 5 years ago, I didn't know what I would be doing, in 5 years hence, So, like I said, right from the beginning, from school days, I'm up for that adventure, let that adventure come and take on anything that comes my way, or take it proactively. And whatever you do, just I think the whole issue is put your heart into it, and something good will come out of it. So be ready for the adventure, and I'm ready
Wow,
for it.
that's brilliant. That's a brilliant way to look ahead. Be ready for adventure, anything that comes your way, which is interesting. Great.
That's like, yeah, that's also a great segue. I'm so glad you said that because the best things happen unexpectedly. A good surprise can be like a little spark of magic that comes into our lives. So we have this really special segment for you, Sonal. We've invited a couple of folks who know you well, who've had a ringside view of your journey and who want to be part of this conversation. So, shall we bring the first guest in, Sanjay?
Yes, it's a mystery guest, so it's going to be a surprise for you.
Yeah, let's add her to the stage.
Yeah.
Welcome, Dr.
Hello,
Sheetal.
Didi. Hello, Didi.
Sister, oh my God.
Yes.
What a support, she's such a she's the elder sister, she's not the younger sister, she's the elder sister, in the family.
That's not true. Check out the white hand. You have it.
No,
Mm.
that's
What
absolutely
better?
great. Great. Thank you so
Our
much.
pleasure.
No, thank you so much, Sheetal, for joining in, jumping in when Sanjay called and asked. Thanks for saying yes immediately. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. That's my Didi. Definitely, I'll be joining. I'm so happy.
So I thought we could just look at a few things that happened for both of you together. You were both in boarding school together, but you pursued totally different career paths. So Sheetal, if you can describe your relationship with her, how has that evolved and changed?
So
Cool.
we were in hostel together. We've always been like, whenever Didi has a problem, the emotional part, she will call me up. She can't call for advice because I don't know anything. I'm a doctor. So, but for any emotional support, I'm always there. She picks up the phone. She's always there for me. And she looks after the family so well. She's so busy, but her son, my children, they are so attached to her. You won't imagine. It's beautiful.
No, that's
Wow.
wonderful to hear, especially as again, I'm one of two sisters, so I can feel the love and the bond coming between the two of you in the on screen as well. So that's wonderful. Sheetal, what is, obviously she's got a multifaceted personality. What aspects of her personality do you admire the most?
Well, she is very forthright. I'll describe her as a Bihari in short, okay? She's very forthright. She will give her opinion anywhere and everywhere. And surprisingly, we are settled in two different cities, okay? One patient's mother actually came up to and said, "Are you Sonal Shrivastava's sister?" I'm like, "How would you know?" Said, I was in a meeting with her. My God, the way she talks. She said, if you put a factory in that city, this company will go. I like, who has the guts to talk like that? So I've got feedback from other people and I know who she is. She's been a leader since the beginning. Hannah Didi, with us cousins also, she'd be the leader. Let's do this Banmashi, that Banmashi. She'd be a leader there also. So
Nice.
basically, she's very forthright and I admire her honesty and her bravery. A woman reaching this level is not easy. It takes a lot
Okay,
of sacrifice.
not
You know,
so much
it has
praise.
to be. I know, I
You
know.
will not mention the sibling
I,
fights, so
I have heard your voice on the calls, how much tension you have had, all that. So gone through all that, but she won't waver. You can't scare her or make her bow down. That's what I like about her. And that's a very Bihari trait, I will not back down.
No, fantastic. Both of you have had thriving careers, different pathways, but thriving careers, which are full on careers. How have you managed to stay connected with each other over the years? How has that relationship really evolved?
I'll tell you exactly why. Sonal makes an extra effort to book holidays together.
Oh,
All of us, parents, both sides, parents, all the kids, our spouses, everyone. And we have another one coming up in Banaras right now on 2nd October. She will take that time out and all of us go somewhere. My kids are so attached to her. It's amazing.
fantastic.
Wonderful. Great.
What is the one message, if you have to give her one message or one wish that you have for Sonal?
Wish for Sonal, definitely. See, I know she's a fighter and she has a lot of fight in her still. You must rise even further because this country needs a talent like yours, an honest, forthright, hardworking person like you.
Wow.
You're an asset.
Wow.
It's
Amazing.
true. It's true. It's true.
So
Right.
wonderful, so wonderful. Sonal, how does this feel? I know you mentioned earlier about not being used to taking compliments nicely. You struggle to. How does this feel to have your sister, only sibling, come and speak like this to you?
it's actually wonderful and too much, I would say. Tone it down. But she's honestly a great supporter and a great support system. So, yeah, I mean, one
Sonal's
surprise and
home network is pretty solid.
home network is also important in when you want to pursue a intensive career.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's
lovely,
great. Yeah.
lovely.
Lovely.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Sheetal, again. The fact that you
Thank
jumped in and said yes speaks a lot about the relationship as well and your eagerness to be part of her journey as much as she is eager to be part of yours. So, really appreciate it. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you so
thank you
much,
so much.
Dr. Sheetal.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. So we have another mystery guest coming in as
Oh my
well.
God. Oh my God. uh, you should get someone who can criticize me also.
Yeah, we are exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah. So Sonal, you wanted a critic. So we've got one for you, and we've got another second mystery guest who will now be joining us. Let me add him to the screen. Yeah, Ahan, welcome to the program. Good to have you here.
Great to be here, Sanjay. I think I am definitely the most apt critic to have taken a part of the show. So thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. See, I mean, you came in at the right cue. Sonal said she wanted somebody who doesn't give her too much of compliments, but is a critic, and there you are. So tell us, how your relationship has been and who critiques the other most, and and what you admire in Sonal here.
Sure. So I think my relationship with my mother is evolved over the years. So now I'm more of her mother and she's more of my son. Just kidding. But yeah, no, it's more like it's evolved into like a very understanding friendship. I would say over the few years, she has. She has also, I think, both of us have grown with each other to respect, have a very nice mutual respect, and she doesn't just treat me as like her son all the time. She does most of the time, but not all the time now. So that's an improvement. But otherwise, it's like my mom has always been inspiring to me in the sense that I've always wondered how she does it all. Because it's really not easy to be somebody that is uh, been, let's say, in the corporate industry for so many years and still come back home and be a mother and segregate the two roles, especially when you've had such a long day at work, right? And there's always things get crazy in the day. You don't expect things to go the way they do. Usually they don't, and for you to still come back and play that role is it's quite something. And apart from that, not just play that role, right? It's like play it well, like actively put as much effort on and off the pitch, if that's the way to say it, and show up, not just for me but like the entire family, right? So that's very inspiring. And it's also like it just like doesn't register that, oh my god, the same mom of mine is like a colleague, a leader, and a player in the industry at the stage she's at. So it's very very inspiring, I think, for me and all of us at home to have seen not just that now, but over the years the way she's grown into that, because there are different hurdles in your career that you have to overcome at different points, and you're a different person at each of those hurdles. So to see that growth has been like very lovely, and obviously very inspiring. And yeah, I think the only thing I have to say to her in terms of like any message that I have to deliver, or anything, is just to honestly not stop yourself from enjoying like life beyond work as well, which he has definitely since the past
Mhm.
2 years taken up, like an, for example, an avid interest in trekking, right? I think that's been very nice to see. But even apart from that, I think she can explore more deeply into other interests, and she's a woman with many interests. For example, cooking as well. She is she is a very very good, at least let's say, head chef that directs sous chefs, if not the chef herself. So yeah, that's what I had to say.
Great, yeah. Is she the boss at home, the CFO at home?
Oh yeah, yeah, she is. I show sometimes, yeah, like, because like I said, she's done very well in maintaining the balance, but not always. Where sometimes she'll come home and, like, for example, with me and my dad, she'll just instruct us in a manner as if we know we are just like a call away as her assistants, and we're like, "What are you doing?" Like, it doesn't make sense. No, but jokes aside, no, no, she is the boss at home. She runs the house. We all know that when whatever we think, we can't have the house run without her. Also, we're very well aware, and we're just like very very lucky to have her as the woman she is in our lives.
Wow,
So lovely to hear that.
lovely.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
I'm sure she'd also like tell you at home how kind of the ecosystem we have, like her father as well. So if you see how she, I'm sure you've gotten a flavor of how she is in this conversation. So you should meet her father and then see where it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, how has she inspired you as you now embark in your corporate life? I know that you're starting out in your legal career now.
Yes.
How is Sonal an inspiration for you? What have you taken
So
from her
So
life?
funny story. I am a lawyer because of her only, for better and worse. So she gave me the illusion of choice of choosing between economics and law back in 11th grade. So I mean, she guided me a lot. She made me meet a few people, speak to them. So because of her, kind of was inspired to not just take up that as a degree, but to pursue it further into, like, the profession and everything. So in terms of the inspiration there, I think, because once you get into the, like, flow of things, then you realize, like, it's nothing compared to what you, there's like direct experience versus hearsay. So in the direct experience, it's like been uh, just good to hear her be like, be patient. Like that's one big learning that she's inspired me to. Kind of, I'm still learning. I'm very much early on, but that's definitely an inspiration in learning, that be patient and give your best.
Lovely, lovely. We were expecting a roast, or at least Sonal was expecting a roast. This is pretty inspiring and mild. So, Sonal, how does that make you feel to have Hahan in your show talking about you?
No, it's I mean, with Ahan, it's always very emotional. Okay, so yes, and you know, no matter what you do, this relationship will always be that emotional. Will have that emotional element. And from hearing him say all this is like, you know, I think somewhere that early days, my missing in the early days hasn't come to play a big part in his, shaping his views and his thoughts now. I think, and of course, he has a lot to learn and do. So yes, wishing him all the best. But just like in office, I'll be very demanding on him also.
Yeah.
Be prepared, Ahan. Be prepared for that as well.
Yeah, no,
And
no, I'm prepared. So I think just because it's a first podcast episode, I decided to be a little more gentle. But I also have my cards; they're all waiting.
all right, really
Thank
great
you
that you
so
could make it. Thank you so much, Ahan. Thank you so much for coming
No,
in.
thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you
Lovely.
so much, Sundari. Thank you for having me. And bye, mom. See you.
Bye.
But
Great. I think we've come to the end of this conversation, and it was lovely, Sonal, to have you talk about so many topics about your life, about your journey, about your learnings and failures, and the way your mindsets have shaped not only your life but also have had an impact now on Ahan and family. So it's great to get a holistic perspective about you, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of nuggets that will be takeouts from this for the younger professionals, and really look forward to uh, putting this together now, and really thank you for your time and efforts in really lending your expertise and sharing your experiences here.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, this has been absolutely divine. I really wish, and at every conversation, my wish is that where were all these people when I started out my finance career? Why didn't I have access to Sonal? That's and so I've made my notes now for the career that might be if we live 100-year-old life, maybe we'll get back into finance. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time that you took to share this, and we will share all these nuggets back to the wider audience as well, perusal format. Really appreciate it, Son.
thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you so much, Sundari. And the pleasure was all mine. And thank you so much for having me here. And really and I hope it's really useful for people to watch this. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Um, thank you so much to everybody who chipped in today to listen in. We are very excited that we were able to get another episode with a dynamic CFO. This is the StarEves Season 1, Episode 2. But do watch this space as we come out with Episode 3 as well. And very shortly, we will announce the timing and it will come up to you on your any social media that you're looking at with another dynamic CFO. Until then, this is Soundari Mukherjee and
Sanjay Behel from Starleaf and StarEves signing off. See you soon.